The day my parents wheeled out the brand new BMW with a massive red bow for my sister. I was standing in the driveway with grease on my palms and a chain dangling from a bike I'd salvaged from a junkyard. It was her 18th birthday. Mine had passed. 3 months earlier, I got a card with no money in it and an awkward smile from Mom. "You're a boy. You don't need as much fuss," she said. "But for Elle, my little sister." Oh. They rolled out the red carpet. Dad popped champagne. Mom filmed the whole thing for Facebook. "Our little star," she beamed. "She deserves the best." I stood to the side, silent. While they cheered, Elle squealed, hugged them both, and didn't so much as glance at me. I wasn't jealous. Not exactly. I was numb. This wasn't new. Elle got everything. The upgraded room, the newer phone, the college fund. I got lectures, cold dinners. And maybe later, I worked part-time at a garage since I was 15. Saved up what I could. My parents said I could take care of myself. "You're resourceful, like your grandfather," Dad always said, conveniently when avoiding bills. That rusty bike, I'd fixed it up from scratch, welded the frame back together, painted it, made it rideable again. When I asked if I could at least get a second-hand scooter to get to school faster, Mom laughed. "We can't afford that, honey. Be reasonable." But that same month, they paid Elle's private school tuition in full and took her to Dubai. I didn't argue. I just worked harder. Senior year came. I graduated with top marks. I told my parents I wanted to study mechanical engineering. They blinked. "Elle's going into marketing," Dad said with pride. "She'll be the face of a company, maybe yours, if you get lucky." When I asked about my college fund, they stared at me like I'd asked to borrow the moon. "Oh, sweetheart," Mom said gently, "there wasn't enough for both of you. Elle's program was more expensive, but maybe you can get a loan." A loan? After I'd paid rent at 16, covered my textbooks, fixed their car twice, and took public transit through snow to school every day while Elle got a personal driver. Still, I didn't yell. I didn't explode. I just said, okay. I took a gap year, worked at jobs, saved every penny, slept in a friend's attic for free rent, applied for every scholarship and grant I could find, built a portfolio, and finally got into a mechanical engineering program fully funded. I didn't tell them. I moved out quietly, changed my number, focused. 4 years later, I graduated top of my class. I had patents, projects. I built a custom electric motorbike that landed me in a design expo. A scout from a startup noticed it, hired me on the spot. In 2 years, I rose from lead engineer to co-founder. We developed high-efficiency, luxury electric vehicles, sleek, fast, beautiful, the kind of cars Elle used to drool over in magazines. I bought my first home, a clean, sharp condo overlooking the city. Then I bought my first luxury car, a fully customized matte black Bentley. Not just for the looks, it had a prototype engine I helped design, quiet, deadly fast. I hadn't seen my family in nearly 6 years. Until one afternoon, at a charity gala our company was sponsoring, I stepped out of my car, and there they were. Elle, Dad, Mom, all in one line, staring at me like they'd seen a ghost. Dad blinked. Mom's mouth fell open. Elle squinted at the car, then at me. Is that you?" she asked slowly. I smiled. That was only the beginning. Elle took a few steps forward like she expected me to hug her. I didn't move. "You've changed," she said, looking me up and down. "You dress like someone important." "I'm someone important," I said calmly. I just stopped telling people who didn't listen. Dad tried to mask the awkwardness with a laugh. "Look at you, big man now. Huh? You should have told us. We'd have supported you all the way." I stared at him. "You mean like when I asked for help with tuition and you told me to be a man and figure it out?" His face flushed, but he didn't deny it. Mom interjected, "Sweetheart, we were under a lot of financial pressure. Back then, you were always so independent. We thought you didn't need us." "Yeah," I said. Voice cool. "You thought Elle did." She tried to smile. "She's your sister." She was struggling too. "No," I said flatly. "She was on a beach in Mykonos." Elle rolled her eyes. "So you're still holding a grudge? Over what? A bike?" I stepped closer, just enough for her to see the subtle embroidered initials on my designer blazer. "My initials? You know what I remember," I said. "I remember coming home soaked in snow with a broken bike chain and getting grounded for being late. I remember you getting a BMW with heated seats and skipping class because you were too tired." Dad finally broke the silence. "Well, you've clearly done well for yourself. That's what matters." "What matters," I said, "is that I did it without you, without any of you." I turned to leave, but paused. You came to this gala for the investment fund, right? The EV one. They blinked, confused. The one sponsored by my company. I added mom's single quotes as face fell. Wait, your company? I nodded. And guess what? I'm the final signature for grant approval. Elle stepped forward. Okay, I was a brat, I admit it, but we're family. I looked at her and said, family doesn't watch you struggle and then cheer when you fall. She opened her mouth, but no words came. I'm not here to get even. I said, I'm just here to remind you that I never needed your approval, just the silence to build in peace. And then I walked away, my Bentley waiting by the curb. Engine purring like a secret finally unleashed. It wasn't just about the car. It was never about the bicycle. It was about being treated like I didn't matter. Like I was the afterthought, the leftover. After that gala, word got around quickly. I was no longer the boy fixing junk bikes in a cold garage. I was the man whose designs were setting new benchmarks in luxury EV technology. Investors lined up, media requests poured in, and suddenly, the people who never had time for me were begging for a moment of mine. 2 weeks after the gala, my parents showed up at the company office, not through the front door, but through the garage where I still liked to tinker. Surrounded by silence, metal, and engines that never lied, they didn't recognize me at first. Standing in coveralls, polishing a chrome hood, excuse me, sir, Dad began, before trailing off. Oh, I didn't greet them, I waited. We wanted to talk, Mom said. Her voice soft like it used to be when I was a kid. You already did, I said. Back when you told me Elle deserved everything, and I should just understand. Mom stepped forward. Elle's business went under. She has debts. The BMW was repossessed, and the apartment is gone. Elle's voice chimed in behind them. She looked thinner now, hollow. She stepped closer, tears welling. I need a job. Any job. I heard your company has internships. Please. I looked at her, long and hard. Interns at my company work 60-hour weeks. They start in the lowest department, and they earn every step. Are you willing to scrub bolts in the prototype garage for minimum wage? She hesitated, then nodded. I turned to Dad. And you? Need help too. His pride cracked. We were hoping maybe you could help with the mortgage. We used a second loan to help Elle with her failed company. I let the silence linger, then said, I bought that mortgage last month. The bank sold it to me. You're living in my house. Their eyes widened. You're not being kicked out. I continued, not yet, but you'll be paying rent, market rate, direct deposit, no discounts. Mom gasped, you wouldn't? I raised an eyebrow. You once gave me a $20 bike and called me resourceful. Now it's your turn. Elle swallowed. Do I get the internship? I looked at her. No special treatment, no title, no corner desk. You'll earn it, or you'll leave. She nodded, shame flooding her face. They left that day quieter than I'd ever seen them. And, for once, I didn't feel angry. I didn't feel bitter. I felt whole. Months passed. Elle did take the internship. She showed up early, stayed late, and for the first time in her life, no one called her princess. She earned respect the way I did, one wrench at a time. My parents, they paid their rent late twice. The third time, I mailed them a notice. The same way landlords had once ignored me when I begged for grace. But I didn't evict them. I just raised the rent. Revenge doesn't always roar. Sometimes it rolls in on quiet wheels in a Bentley, with the engine humming beneath a man who built everything he was denied, and more. Sometimes revenge is not about destroying them. It's about letting them live in what they made, while watching you thrive in what you built. Because I was never the leech, I was the foundation. And now, I own everything they once said I didn't deserve. One morning, I walked into the intern lounge. Elle was there, wiping grease off her hands. Her nails, once manicured and painted in pastel colors, were chipped, stained, real. She looked up and froze. I didn't expect you to ever come here, she said. I used to spend hours in this room, I said. But no one noticed back then. She didn't argue. I was cruel, she finally said. Spoiled. I made fun of your bike, of your clothes. I called you a ghost in your own house. You weren't wrong, I said. I felt like one. She blinked fast. I don't expect forgiveness. I just want to become someone different now. I nodded. Then, stop being the victim of your own story. Start building it yourself. I turned to leave, but added, you've got 6 weeks to pass your department review. If you don't, you're out. She nodded. Thank you. Later that week, I got a call from my father's old friend, Mr. Calhoun, a retired engineer I admired as a kid. He asked to meet for coffee. I agreed, out of curiosity. He sat down and went straight to the point. Your father talks about you now. Constantly. Brags. Even I laughed. That's rich. He doesn't say it to your face, but he's ashamed. Of what? Of how he treated the only child who turned out strong. I sat back in my chair. Funny. I don't need his pride anymore. I just needed space. Double quotes. Mr. Calhoun looked at me thoughtfully. Then why did you let them stay in the house? I stared out the window. Because I wanted them to understand what it feels like to depend on someone they never believed. And Mr. Calhoun smiled faintly. Poetic. Weeks passed. Elle passed her review, barely, and I watched her grow from entitled to exhausted, from arrogant to attentive. She didn't know it, but I had people tracking her progress. She didn't cheat. She didn't skip. She earned a dot one evening. We crossed paths at the parking garage. She looked at my Bentley, then at her second-hand Corolla. I get it now, she said softly, the difference between being handed something and building it. I didn't respond. She added, you don't have to let me stay. I'll leave if you want. I looked at her, and for the first time, I saw someone I could respect. Keep working, I said. Earn it every day. Then I got in my car and pulled away, the engine whispering like a promise. Months later, I was invited to speak at an innovation summit. When I walked onto the stage, the screen behind me lit up with my company's logo, my name in bold dotting. The crowd, I saw them, Mom, Dad, L. They weren't in the VIP seats. They sat quietly in the back. They finally saw what I had become. And they finally understood what they had thrown away. But I wasn't looking for their applause. I was looking for the silence, and in that moment, I got it.